Good evening, everyone. Prime Minister Albanese, Prime Minister Modi, and Prime Minister Kishida, and Governor John Carney, Senator Chris Coons, and Representative Lisa Blunt-Rochester. All the scientists and doctors and advocates here tonight, what a fitting way to end the Quad Summit by launching another historic endeavor. When I was Vice President, Jill and I launched here in the States what we call the Cancer Moonshot. We committed to end cancer as we know it and reach 50% cure for cancers in a time frame that we announced. We had lost our son to glioblastoma in 2015, Bo, a graduate of this great institution. And like many mothers and fathers, quite frankly, we were ready to give up. But I wasn't going to run again. My son, Bo, knowing he was going to die shortly, pulled me aside. Not a joke. I wrote about it, made me promise that I wouldn't walk away, that I'd stay involved, because he knew the impact if we stayed and made the case. I remember him saying to me, "Dad, this is God's truth. Dad, I'm not afraid. I'm going to be okay." He knew he was about to die. But he said, "You got to promise me you'll stay involved," because he knew the way he had talked about it, that it would give people hope, that those of us and many of you experienced it. I bet if I ask you to raise your hand, including the press, if anybody has lost a family member or has been diagnosed with cancer, it's the vast majority of you. And it seems to me there's nothing that families and or the person suffering from cancer needs more than hope. Hope. Hope that science will outrace the disease. After Bo died, I literally visited every major cancer research facility in the world, 7 of them, around the world. I wanted to see what was possible, and I did. And by the way, I didn't do it alone. I want to thank Danielle Carnival, who's here. Where are you, Danielle? I want people to see you. Who was an effort, Doc, and worked on putting this together for me. During those trips, I got to see the incredible dedication that scientists, doctors, and nurses. By the way, having spent a lot of time, like many of you have, in hospitals, doctors let you live. Nurses make you want to live. They give you hope. Oh, you male and female, you think I'm kidding. They had hope. And they're making significant progress, all of you, those of you scientists out here. And it's not just because it's personal, but because it's possible. When I became president, we reignited our Cancer Moonshot with an ambitious goal. Cut the cancer rate by at least 50% over the next 25 years, or even cure many cancers. Throughout this effort, what amazed me was that leaders around the world asked about the Cancer Moonshot. Its mission that brings us, that's the mission that brings us together tonight. And one that brings the best of us. That's why we're here today. I'm proud to announce that the Quad, Cancer Moonshot, is what we're talking about. Our goal is to team up and cancer around the world, and starting with cervical cancer. I know it may sound unrealistic, but it's not. Cervical cancer is one of the most preventable cancers in the world. In fact, we have prevention and screening tools and treatments to make the first cancer ever to be eliminated. It is still one of the most deadly cancers across the world. Every year, 150,000 women die from cervical cancer in the Indo-Pacific. Every year. That's more than double the population of this city. We can't and will not let that continue. The 4 of us are proud democracies. We're coming together to deliver a better hope, more hope for our people. In practice, the Quad Cancer Moonshot means more collaboration between our hospitals, research centers, and cancer foundations, more investment in screenings, treatment, and research, and more exchanges between our countries to improve vaccination rates all across the region. Right now, only 1 in 10 women across the Indo-Pacific, which is the most populated part of the world, have received HPV vaccinations for cervical cancer. So I'm proud to announce that our 4 countries, the leaders behind me, and many organizations here today are committing over $150 million for HPV screening and therapeutics. And next year, doctors and nurses from the U.S. Navy will begin a program to train Indo-Pacific counterparts in conducting cervical cancer screening and vaccination so we can reach every woman in the region. And it matters. Folks, let me close with this. During my first year as president, I received a letter from a mother from Tennessee. She'd been recently diagnosed with cervical cancer. She said she experienced every emotion, from denial to anger to fear to grief. Phil and I remember those feelings as well. But when she asked herself, what am I going to do? Am I going to give up? Am I going to fight? She answered, I choose to fight. We've got to choose to fight. Choose to fight as a society. Ladies and gentlemen, today America, Australia, India, and Japan choose to fight. For every patient asking for one more day, one more week, one more year. Every survivor and caregiver who carries the scars of recovery, and every person who've lost, and every person we can save. Because there's truly nothing beyond our capacity when we act together, not even beating cancer. And that's what this group is about today. So I want to thank you all for being here. And now, who am I introducing next? Who's next?
Distinguished guests, the Prime Minister of the Republic of India.
By the way, he's from a small country like ours, with slow population, but he's become a good and decent man, a good friend.
Thank you.
Excellencies,
आयोजन के लिए मैं राष्ट्रपति बाइडेन का हार्दिक अभिनंदन करता हूं। यह एफोर्डेबल, एक्सेसिबल और क्वालिटी हेल्थ केयर के लिए हमारे साझे दृढ़ निश्चय को दर्शाता है। कोविड पैंडेमिक के दौरान हमने इंडो पैसिफिक के लिए क्वाड वैक्सीन इनिशिएटिव लिया था और मुझे खुशी है कि क्वाड में हमने सर्वाइकल कैंसर जैसे चैलेंज का मिलकर सामना करने का निर्णय लिया है। इन कैंसर केयर कोलैबोरेशन इज एसेंशियल फॉर क्योर। कैंसर का बर्डन कम करने के लिए प्रिवेंशन, स्क्रीनिंग, डायग्नोसिस और ट्रीटमेंट की इंटीग्रेटेड अप्रोच जरूरी है। भारत में मास स्केल पर बहुत ही कॉस्ट इफेक्टिव सर्वाइकल कैंसर स्क्रीनिंग प्रोग्राम चल रहा है। साथ ही भारत दुनिया की सबसे बड़ी हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस स्कीम चला रहा है और सबको एफोर्डेबल कॉस्ट पर दवाइयां उपलब्ध कराने के लिए स्पेशल सेंटर्स भी बनाए गए हैं। भारत ने सर्वाइकल कैंसर के लिए अपनी वैक्सीन भी बनाई है और एआई की मदद से नए ट्रीटमेंट प्रोटोकॉल भी शुरू किए जा रहे हैं। एक्सेलेंसी, भारत अपना एक्सपीरियंस और एक्सपर्टाइज शेयर करने के लिए तैयार है। आज कैंसर केयर में काम करने वाले भारत के कई एक्सपर्ट्स इस इवेंट्स में हमारे साथ जुड़े हैं। भारत का विजन है वन अर्थ वन हेल्थ। इसी भावना से मैं क्वाड मूनशॉट इनिशिएटिव के तहत $7.5 मिलियन के सैपलिंग किट्स, डिटेक्शन किट्स और वैक्सीन का सहयोग देने की घोषणा करता हूं। रेडियोथेरेपी ट्रीटमेंट और कैपेसिटी बिल्डिंग में भी भारत सहयोग देगा। मुझे खुशी है कि इंडो पैसिफिक देशों के लिए गावी और क्वाड की पहलों के अंतर्गत भारत से 40 मिलियन वैक्सीन डोसेज का योगदान दिया जाएगा। ये 40 मिलियन वैक्सीन डोसेज करोड़ों लोगों के जीवन में आशा की किरणें बनेगी। As you can see, when the Quad acts, it is not just for nations, it is for the people. This is the true essence of our human-centric approach. Dhanyavad.
Distinguished guests, the Prime Minister of Japan.
Biden 大統領
Biden, Prime Minister Albanese, Prime Minister Modi, dear participants, it is my pleasure to attend the Quad Cancer Moonshot on the sidelines of the summit. Joe has worked passionately on measures against cancers over many years. I wish to express my heartfelt congratulations to you, Joe, on the fruition of your dedication in the form of the Quad Cooperation, and I express my esteem for Joe's leadership. The Quad demonstrated strong solidarity in the response to the COVID-19 pandemic. In the post-COVID era today, the response to health-related challenges that have receded due to the pandemic is even more important. Efforts to deal with regional health and security, including corporation cancers, is indeed a timely initiative. Regarding our support for measures against cancers in the Indo-Pacific region, Japan has offered support such as the deployment of equipment and technical cooperation, or support through international organizations and initiatives. We are also collaborating with research institutions working on cancers in the United States, Australia, and India. Regarding the measures against cervical cancers, we have supported the deployment of medical equipment and facilities, offered technical cooperation, or have contributed to international organizations including Gavi Vaccine Alliances, UNFPA, and IAPPF, among others, and such endeavors will continue going forward. We will cooperate with you closely in order to bring together the technologies and networks of the Quad to raise the effects of our measures against cancers even further. Thank you for your kind attention.
Distinguished guests, the Prime Minister of Australia.
Thank you very much. I'm delighted to be here today alongside my good friends, President Biden, Prime Minister Modi, and Prime Minister Kishida. The unifying principle of the Quad is that we can achieve more together than on our own. Our work on health is a powerful example of that. At the very first Quad Leaders Summit chaired by President Biden, the Quad agreed to work together to improve access to COVID vaccines. As a direct result, more than 400 million vaccine doses made their way into communities in the Indo-Pacific. That changed lives and it saved lives. That's what the Quad Cancer Moonshot initiative is all about as well. This program builds on one of President Biden's signature policy initiatives, not just in his term as president, but throughout his time in public life. It's a reflection of the ambition and empathy, the vision and compassion that has defined President Biden's leadership. It's about understanding people's pain but doing something to help. This is personal for the President and for Dr. Biden. It is personal for all of us because in our nations, as in every part of the world, cancer casts its shadow on the lives of our citizens and our loved ones. Australia is proud of the leading role that we've played preventing cervical cancer worldwide. The HPV vaccine was developed at the University of Queensland by Australian of the Year, Professor Ian Fraser. That vaccine, together with improvements in screening and treatment, means Australia is on track to be the first country in the world to eliminate cervical cancer. Yet beyond our shores, the story is very different. 1 in 4 global cervical cancer cases occur in the Indo-Pacific. And tragically, women in the Pacific die of the disease at up to 13 times the rate of women in Australia. These people are not numbers. They are our neighbours, members of our Pacific family, and we're stepping forward to help. Today I can announce that Australia is expanding our funding commitment to the Elimination Partnership in the Indo-Pacific for Cervical Cancer, known as EPIC. Alongside a generous contribution from the Minderoo Foundation, the expansion will use Australian cervical cancer expertise to help more partner governments get HPV vaccine programs up and running across the region. This will also increase screening and treatment and provide support for health workers. It will build on what we've learnt in the Western Highlands of Papua New Guinea and Vanuatu and make it available to Malaysia, Timor-Leste, the Solomons, Tuvalu, Fiji and Nauru as well. It's fitting that this cancer moonshot takes its name from a famous American achievement that inspired the world. A choice America made to mobilise its collective talent and go to the moon. Not because it was easy, but because it was hard. That's the spirit of this endeavour. All of us know that curing cancer, defeating it once and for all, will be hard, but not as hard as the lonely, exhausting, physical and emotional ordeal of diagnosis and treatment. And never as hard as losing the people we love, which everyone here, I'm sure, has been impacted by at one stage in their life. In 1969, 7 years after President Kennedy called on his fellow Americans to organise and measure the best of their abilities to meet an unprecedented challenge, the world watched as 2 Americans walked on the moon. The images of that defining moment in human history were carried to Tokyo and Osaka, New Delhi and Chennai, Wilmington and Washington DC by the Australian Radio Telescope in Parkes. Australians will always be proud of the part we played in sharing that triumph of science and human courage with the world. We're proud to stand with the United States, with India and with Japan in this shared effort to change lives for the better. Thank you.